going on, y'all? Welcome to another week of sports. I'm sorry, golly, it's been a minute. Straight No Chasing Cowboys podcast, man. With your host, Hoop Jargon, and the great JC Kami, and my guy, Darren Brown. What's up, fellas?
Hey now, what's happening?
What is this?
Feeling good, man. Better than the Cowboys, man. Better than the Cowboys.
That is not hard to accomplish. Yeah. As we know, our Dallas Cowboys took a major L, from the young, up-and-coming Green Bay Packers 2 weeks ago. It felt like a lifetime ago. 48-32. Just got mollywopped, just got shellacked. Our pregame predictions all were wrong, except about one caveat that we couldn't. How could we stop their run? Because if we're being honest, that game was a head scratcher by every metric, and I think every major media pundit kind of mirrored our sentiment. It's just one of them games, man. You get your door blown off, you play with your food too much, you don't come out there serious, and they get the first punch in the mouth, and then after that, it's a ball game. Or in this case, it was a boat race. It wasn't even a ball game. You know what I'm saying? So, thoughts about our last game, JC. We can kick it off with you. Just talk about the things you saw before we start talking about insights for next year. Just let's kind of just put a cap on what we saw last year.
There's a lot of the, there just seems to be a kryptonite or a common thread in terms of the game plan against the Cowboys, as it relates to their defense. And it is the fact that they play a lot of man. And when Quinn gets blitz happy, the deep crossing routes are the ones that are left open. And so, whether it was Brock Purdy or Geno Smith or Jordan Love, when they see that look, they're either going to break contain or drop back a little farther in their drop and allow the crossing pattern to come open. Very distressing. Very distressing. Not to mention, the turnovers and the seemingly uninspired play, if you will. It's almost as if they looked at it like we looked at it as fans. We're going to get these two. That's a given. We'll see San Francisco or whomever in the championship game, right? And they forgot to actually go out and play the game. And I think, and obviously, we'll touch on this as we go. It's even amongst elite teams or playoff teams in this case. And, there's 14 of them every year. Even amongst those teams, as good or successful as they are, there are a few that kind of just got in. And obviously the Dallas Cowboys that kind of really need an offensive identity. And I think you guys know what I'm getting at. The run game needs to be better. And I will say this before I throw it back to y'all. If you look at this is so interesting to me when you look at the final four teams that were playing in the conference title games. You had Detroit with their two-headed running combo. Very good running backs. Montgomery and Mims, I believe it is, or Gibbs, I believe it is. You had Pacheco with KC, who's just been a monster in the postseason. Macho, fighting through injuries. You also had Christian McCaffrey, obviously, probably the number one guy. And then you have Baltimore with the number one rushing offense overall. So do we see a common thread here? Cowboys need to beef their run game up. And I'll leave it at that and throw it back to you guys.
All right. So, we will touch on that going for insights going forward. I think we all lock and step with that part. And shout out to Chris on the Twitter X side saying good morning, gang. And good morning, brother. Good to see you.
Good morning. Good morning.
So D Brown, what you got, man?
Man, so I like the lane that JC started in. Man, to me, it's even a simpler deal. Man, the disappointment for me with this team, and in this last 3 years, particularly with this group, this was the most disappointing, even though it was the most predictable. I'm gonna explain. 2 weeks before the playoff game, I think when Dallas clinched, Fox Sports ran a poll that I responded to and got a lot of motion from my answer. Regrettably, that my answer to their poll was accurate as hell. It just happened a week earlier than I predicted. The poll was, for a refresher, that how, like, basically where would the Dallas Cowboys get to? Like, would it be wild card, divisional, championship game, or the Super Bowl? Right, A, B, C, D. My answer to that was divisional. Because I didn't see, a lot of what JC touched on, but with regard to, because to me, the thing with the Cowboys, man, is like, it's really predictable. And my answer, and where I'm going with this, my answer to that question was they're going to go out in the divisional because not so much the stuff that we knew about the run game. I know we'll get into it in a bit, but it was the coaching, the deficiency. In-game adjustments, game management, what have you. We've seen that from McCarthy in the 4 years he's been here. Dan Quinn is kind of, showed at times where, particularly in the run piece, but even in the defense part, is that the in-game flexibility to whatever he's game plan for is not really there at times, and at times it hurt Dallas quite a bit. I think there was a personnel issue, but even in the scheme issue. And my answer was, man, they're likely going to see guys like Shanahan, Dan Campbell, what have you. What matchup do you like there, right? And that reared its ugly head in the Green Bay game, right? I mean, they were completely out-schemed, out-coached. They got the Sox coached off them. That team looked confused. That team looked unprepared, and that's a lot of it has to do with the guys that are paying the big, but the guy on the sideline, the guy in the booth. That said, to me, it's a simple fix, and it's been a simple fix. I should say it's a very, very clear remedy. JC, you alluded to it. The run game has to be beefed up, and I know we'll get into details in a bit, but they can't, and the inability to stop it. That's been here 3 years, and so you were hoping against hope almost, because predictably, as teams, as you get deeper, if you get to the playoffs and you fortunately advance, the good teams, the true championship level teams, are going to have that element. Dallas didn't. They predictably got the doors blown, and we're back at this deal with even more talented team, 9 All-Pros and all that deal, but you still have the same problem. And that's the height of the frustration with this thing is, will they have the off-season movement to address what's been the biggest problem for them for the last 3 years, which is they're not physical enough at the point of attack. They can't run the ball effectively, and they can't defend it. There you go.
Yeah, I think the Cowboys are a victim of having too much, and this is going to sound generic, but it's true. Too much flash, not enough product. And what I mean by that is, from a skill position standpoint, man, we be some goddamn studs. We really are. From a position of just, okay, you got the marquee players, guys who go out there who are game changers. We got that. We got to listen. I know people gonna feel how they feel about Dak Prescott, and I'm with you most of the way. We got a good quarterback. Problem is that in between shit we ain't,
a really good quarterback.
Right. Yeah. Because I don't care how much you want to shit on Dak. You go look at these quarterbacks, these teams with bad quarterbacks, and it's not even, we're not even talking about anything. We're not even talking about anything. So, no. What we do need is that trench work, like you said, that nasty. Big Mozzie's supposed to have done that. I mean, he's a rookie. You can't expect too much out of a rookie to be a game changer like that. So obviously we need to beef up there. We gotta be able to stop the run. We gotta beef up at our linebacker core. I talked about this for weeks on end. Lord have mercy. We missing Leighton Van Der Esch like a motherfucker, ain't we? And that's somebody who
Yeah,
You know,
Vander elsewhere. Shout out to our boy Richard Walker, but
yeah,
elsewhere did not need to be elsewhere.
yeah.
he
We need him
needed to be
right there.
present, right there.
Yeah.
I love it.
So,
Yep.
so he turns into a guy that's funny to make fun of, but he's a guy that goes out there and tackles tackles the runner. He does it really well. He always leads us in tackles, almost
His
always.
impact was missed. His impact was missed.
Absolutely.
The injury to Overshone was what turned out to be even bigger than I thought. I really think that kid would have contributed. So you're missing pieces and whatnot, but the bottom line is what was needed, wasn't there, and it didn't get done.
Right. And lastly, I mean, this is a category you really cannot quantify. In the moxie category, man, like we some front running motherfuckers, man. Boy, from top down, we are some front running motherfuckers. From Micah Parsons on down. We like it when it's good and we got everything to say and we lose. Oh, y'all some haters and blah, blah. Nah, homie. That's not how it goes. You got that stone side helmet. No, sir.
That's a great point.
The Dixie killer, too. You underestimate that, but that happens.
What would you say, JC?
Lost their all-pro safety. So, we keep going back to that. But it is true, man. I think Diggs adds a lot of edge to that defense. I think it's a big part of that identity.
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, having Diggs back there gives a chance to put Bland back in the slot, man. It's just it's hard to throw the ball on us. Period.
Yes.
So you got Bland who did a phenomenal job. We all know that. Pick sixes and just interceptions. Period. Did a phenomenal job. But how much more valuable are we rather with him playing in the slot, having Gilly and Trayvon on the sides, and really making hell for people trying to air their ball out. So it's almost like you're gonna have to predictably run against us. And that's our problem. I think our defense cannot impose our will upon anybody past like week 4. Because the first few weeks, man, like people couldn't even score on us. Y'all remember that? Like it was.
Yeah.
And we come to find out that the Giants can't fight in them. The Redskins, the Commander, the Commandos, the Commodores, or whatever. they can't fight them.
Yeah. The Jets.
Yeah, the Jets.
Thing. Yeah.
But what we did is we choked them out early. And that's what we should have done to this damn Green Bay team. And it's just funny how there was a mentality weeks 1 through 4. I mean, I know Arizona got us, but at the end of the year, man, it was a whole bunch of flash, not enough product for me.
Yeah. I got. Go ahead, JC.
It was just incredibly distressing at the total breakdown and collapse everywhere. And as I said in the pregame show, that little bastard, Aaron Jones, I had a horrible feeling when I see that some bitch on the field, and Texas guy got all those people with him, and it's selfies and he's all full of glee over there. Game hadn't even started yet, and it's a clown fest in his mind. And what happens? He goes out and puts the dick to him again. I mean, just the whole nature of it. The gas plays in the run game, the big passing plays. It was a total and complete meltdown. If you look at the conference title games this past weekend, despite the fact that the Cowboys weren't in them, this show, we're huge Cowboy fans, but it's like we're gonna watch other sports. Hell, we live and breathe it. Whether it's college sports, whether it's the NFL. So I know we were all tuned into watching the conference title games, and those bitches, all 4 of those teams came out and competed. Man, the Baltimore KC game, man, they were laying lumber. So for the Cowboys, no one shows up. No one. Nobody shows up. You couldn't scapegoat anybody. The whole thing was just awful. And that's what's so distressing, man. I loved, on one hand, to watch Baltimore and KC, man, how they're raising their level of play. And y'all saw how physical and nasty that game was. It looks like it hurts to play offense against Baltimore. Like those boys, straight up bringing it. I want to say this. I think Baltimore is Pittsburgh 2.0. Baltimore is the new Steelers. Not that the Steelers aren't still very Steelerish, but you look at what Baltimore does, man, and they got the same Pittsburgh blueprint, and it's relevant to what I'm talking about here. Look, what Baltimore says is, there's a problem with someone that's not football related? Okay, well, we'll go ahead and take care of the problem. You're no longer here. We really don't want to hear it. They signed Earl Thomas. Earl's having some issues. Give him a big bonus. Screw how it affects the cap. You got to go. It's about football with those franchises. Baltimore is at the front and center of that, whereas there's no extra allowed. And I like Baltimore fans too, and how they're kind of picky with free agents. They don't ever go get a big group of them, but like the Earl Thomas thing. So what happened? They go get the safety from the Saints. When you give a guy $70 million, you do a big free agent signing. Of course, that's always risky, but you like the risk a lot better when the guy's 25 years old. Yeah. Baltimore picks their spots. They pick their spots, and they'll say, okay, we'll just fill this need with one good young free agent. And, of course, the rest is draft picks. And you can always count on them and the Steelers to a lesser extent to compete. What hurts the most is that we just didn't compete in that game. Nobody stepped up. Nobody threw a helmet. Nobody got pissed. Nobody kicked the water bucket. I said, come on now. What the hell's going on? McCarthy wasn't going to do it. And it just speaks to there's some fundamental flaws, and I know we'll get into them as we go. But as good as this football team is in terms of talent, we keep saying that they have the guys. There are some fundamental, schematic, and day-to-day operational flaws with this thing, and you guys know what I'm getting at. Puff Jerry, okay, and the way the whole thing is run, all right? I mean, we couldn't even crack McCarthy for the playoff game because the whole thing was just terrible from jump. Decisions, I mean, it just got rolled. There were no coaching decisions to make. So what happens is these different things happen, and so we say, okay, well, for instance, like, oh, we just had a bad day. That was just a fluke. Okay, man, well, we're 3 years into this. We pull back and we have this empirical data. Bottom line, there are no excuses. They should be better. They have the team. They have the talent. They should be better. They should go further. That's right. Cost versus distance. Farther. They should go further than they've been going. And again, I keep coming back to that common thread, and I know we're going to get into it. And it is a very deep draft this year, and a lot of positions I don't know about running back, but they need some sort of identity they could go to, man. Like if you're not getting 50 points a game, or in that particular game, you play the game that's on the field, and you are able to slug it out physically and grind out a 17-13 win. Your defense stabilizes stuff for you. Your run game takes the air out of the ball while, instead of letting Green Bay get hot and come out there and go K-gun or whatever the hell and march right down the field. More than one way to skin a cat. Play the game that's on the field. I think there's just such a wide variance in the way they play in terms of the highs and lows and the type of game that they can play. And there's no fallback that, okay, this is solid, and that to me is a run game. You can always kind of reset and reconnoiter. If you say, all right, look, they jumped out on 14-0. Let's punch them in the mouth a little bit. Let's regroup on defense and let's compete and let's claw our way back into it. You just didn't see any signs of that happening. When they got the ball started in the second half, they needed to drive it to get a touchdown. And they drove it and got a field goal, and then Green Bay turned around and scored. Sure, they had plenty of time left to come back and win, but you knew by the tenor of that game, it was a wrap.
Absolutely. All right, D. Brown, what you got, man?
Man, so getting back to this, in this, it's a recurring theme just because, it is the order of the day. I'm gonna take some specifics from JC's point. So y'all heard me use this word a ton over the years, describing teams that are successful and describing, what's been unsuccessful as far as this group is concerned, and that's balance. Dallas lacked balance, offensively, and balance. And people hear that. Dude, balance is so important. When you look at teams that win, I go back to the Green Bay team during the Favre years, when Favre was slinging it all over the yard, make these spectacular plays, whatnot. But if Favre, was not on, if you made life difficult for Favre a lot of those years before he finally broke through, right? Then, because it was predictable how you could defend them, and they couldn't sustain drives. They couldn't shorten games because you had to depend on him to go out there with his cape and do what he did, right? Then they get a man in the year they won it. His name escapes me. The guy who ran for 1,500 yards that year. but that's they gave Favre enough to.
You talking about Ahmad?
No, it's big guy, Barry something or other.
Alabama kid,
the big guy.
Lacey.
Eddie Lacy?
No. Big light skinned dude, man. He'll come to me in a second. But he ran for 50. He ran for 1,500 yards that year, and that was the balance that they need. I'm sorry.
Dorsey Levens.
Dorsey Levens. There you go. Dorsey Levens.
Damn, that's a name I ain't heard in a while.
Yeah, but Dorsey Levens. Dorsey Levens had it. But that year they won it, man. Dorsey Levens. You know, for all the names, the Reggie Whites, the Brett Favre's. You know, I mean, all the receivers that they had, all those guys. Dorsey Levens was what helped get them over the hump because they gave Favre that offense balance.
That's a great reference. That's a great reference.
1,500 yards. And go back to the 2014 and the 2016 Cowboys. What did they have offensively in those 2 years?
1,600 yard
balance.
rusher.
They had an 1,800 yard rusher in DeMarco Murray. You know, that was Romo's best. That was Romo's best year. He like Dak this year was a legit MVP candidate, right? Played his ass off because they had that game to balance him out. He didn't have to cape it all the time. Same thing in the 16 year, and yeah, he was a rookie, but you had Ezekiel Elliott and you had that physical presence in that run. It's real simple, guys. They got to get back to that. They got to get back to that. Now, the big question will be how they do that. Do they buy Nick Tim in the draft, or do they go talk about some of the names that are out there to pursue? We know the biggest one, actually a couple of the big ones in Barkley, and
Derrick Henry.
Derrick Henry. And so, I mean, you know, you got guys like Marcus Spears, you know, calling out the Cowboys. You talking about going all in that Jerry referenced earlier in the week. You know, you go get that guy. Derrick Henry lives here. Derrick Henry trains here. I mean, you know, all of that synergy, what have you. And I mean, he's kind of expressed, you know, in not so many words. Yeah, they like I'd be with it. But even if a guy like Derrick Henry, who's a little long in the tooth, 30-year-old guy, still went for damn near 1,200 yards last year on a down Tennessee teams. But man, 2 years of that guy, what that guy gives you from a physicality standpoint, just the way he runs.
Yeah.
You know, you go fortify that line, you get this dude behind you, you keep Arico Dowdle, who I thought was underutilized, and there's your change of pace guy, who is another physical guy in and of himself. Now you've changed the identity. Now you've given Dak something to fall back on and give him that balance. You're good in the tight end room. You're damn good in the receiver room. You know, the emergence of Cooks, you know, CD is a top 3 receiver now. So you're damn sure going to pay him. You know, you get Cooks back. You probably make a move there in that third receiver because I think Gallup's out. But
get the fuck out of here.
But you're still there. But it's that physicality, man. It's getting back to being able. One of the most fun things before I throw it back. One of the most fun things, my fondest memories of that 14 and 16 team was they would line up in a run formation. You knew they were going to turn around and hand that ball to DeMarco Murray or to Ezekiel Elliott, and there wasn't a damn thing you can do about it. That's some fun football to watch right there.
Yeah.
I was like, you know we're gonna run it, and you can't do shit about it. That's fun football because you can play action. Can you imagine having that kind of balance and run a real play action when you've got guys like CD and Cooks going out the route, knowing the threat of that run is going to, you know, scare you every time, and it's a legitimate threat. And when you got a guy like Ferguson now, who's a part of that mix, going out in the route too, it's real simple. Get back to that balance, and now you're not a really good team. Now you're back at a legitimate championship level team, like a San Francisco, like a Detroit, like a Baltimore, like a Kansas City. Kansas City did just that, what we're talking about. Andy Reid is the most genius offensive mind in terms of adjustment and flexibility with identity that I've ever seen. They literally turn around, hand that ball off. They went to Baltimore and beat Baltimore. When did you ever see Andy Reid team do that?
Yeah.
Understood what had to be done. Physical up front. They went and played Baltimore's game in Baltimore and won another AFC championship game.
It never trailed. And they never tried to be Brown hitting a little patchiness. But yeah, I mean, I throw another year out there, like 09, man, when we had the three-headed monster. With Jones, Mary the Barbarian, rest in peace to him, and Tashard Choice, I believe was number 3. Then we had a second iteration, I want to say in 11, when it was our third back was, what's his face? Morris. I think that the Redskins ended up picking him up. It was Morris, it was Marion, and there's a third guy we had. We had 3 strong running backs around that era as well. You remember who I'm speaking about?
Yeah.
I think Jones was gone by then.
Yeah, it was Jones, Barber, and Tashard Choice.
Yeah, and then we had a second iteration where we had Morris, Barber, and there was another third guy. I forget his name. It escapes me. Because we had 2 iterations of three-headed monster. The first one being the better one for sure. But my whole point is, like we've had identities of having a very how can I put it? A very versatile running game with the thunder and lightning effect. And all of a sudden, we became so contingent on or so dependent on Zeke Elliott doing all the work. And once Zeke basically aged like the Olsen twins right before our eyes, like it's almost like, oh shit, we don't have a contingency plan. It was all supposed to be on Zeke, right? So then you bring in Tony Pollard, he's doing a phenomenal job, man. For his what God gave him as far as his body, he's doing what he can do. The problem is, like we've been saying on this show for all season long, is that he's not an everyday back. You good? He's not an RB1. It's blatantly obvious. So with that being said, like, are you gonna make a move? Are you gonna do something about it? Or are we gonna sit here and hold pat? And I just can't, JC, for the life of me, I can't understand. What about Jerry Jones didn't see this? What about Jerry didn't make you go all in this year? Like, what the hell? Our run game has been our detriment the entire year for the most part. You thought it just was going to just come out of nowhere? Like, so if you got a chance to plunge, you go get Derrick Henry. I'm sure Tennessee only won the third. Why not do it this year? Go ahead.
I mean, they're at a real pivotal point. The parallels in terms of the talent on the squad, they literally mirror the 91 to 93 Houston Oilers. That Jamie Williams was a tight end on that team. He was also a tight end on the dynastic San Francisco 49er teams. And that Houston team had so much talent. It's too much to name. In 3 years, 1 playoff win.
Yeah.
And they just consistently, Jamie Williams said they had more talent than that San Francisco dynasty. But the locker room was completely dysfunctional. And the Cowboys are at that point. And what happened in year 4 of this team that was still young, that, 3 straight playoff appearances, 1 win in 3 years, but arguably the most talented roster in the whole league, they fell off the face of the earth. That's what happened. They were rebuilding that thing and moving to Tennessee with Eddie George and McNair a few years later. It was over. None of those JC were around.
That's your point.
There's a danger of them. There's a danger of the Cowboys falling off a cliff, man, and this shit going bad in 2024.
Let me add this to your point. That's a great point. That same Oilers era, they was having coaches fighting on side of me, Kevin Gilbride and fighting against. Yeah, that's a great point. So when you have lack of institutional control, shit rolls downhill. And I guess we can segue into the thing about these family members starting pillow talk, doing that pillow talking, and now they, in the moment, everybody in their feels. So you guys see Lamb's mama saying what I bet dollars of donuts CD just said to her. You got Thad Prescott being Thad Prescott. He always got some ill shit to say. And then you got Michael Parsons' brother going out there and talking his shit, talking about the money that Dak should, have to accept, which he ain't wrong, but to say that shit out loud is just violating. But go ahead, I'm gonna kick it to y'all, man. So I think that's a great segue with JC. So let's talk about some of the lack of institutional control and a little bit of hints of chaos that we may have going amongst our fold.
Well, I mean, I just keep going back to the same thing, man. It's just unconscionable, man, with the talent that they have on that roster. You look at it and and as you go up and down the list, I mean, they literally have the best kicking tandem in the league. In addition to, you know, like in that amalgamate, in that just anomaly of a season in 2019, when they were top 10 offense, top 10 defense, they were like 34th in special teams. Like there were two guys that were on the street that were better than the Cowboys. That's like, I mean, and that's not a joke. That's for real, man. That's not an insult. This is a fact of life. And so you can see, okay, 25% of the game. What the problem was, you look here and you're like, oh my gosh, talent everywhere, right? Guys, youth, veterans, the whole shot, right? And you just keep coming back to needing a culture change. Now, culture changes have a tendency to take time. When you bring a new coach in, they put a different set of eyes on things. We're not getting a new head coach, but we're getting a new defensive coordinator. So I'll throw it back to the distinguished members of the panel. Who is your choice to get a different set of eyes on this defense and to make the necessary changes that need to be made? Who do you guys like?
Okay, I'm going to answer your question, JC, but I'm going to challenge a point you made. I want to bring something to light. You mentioned the talent. You're right. Talent across the board. But that talent, there's still talent deficient in one of the most critical areas for a roster to have. And that's linebacker. And we've echoed that refrain forever. Now, we had a couple of unfortunate things that happened that I think directly impacted what could have happened in 23, and the injury to Van Der Esch, which could very well be a career-threatening deal, unfortunately, for the young man. And, of course, again, we talked about the injury to a guy that they were really high on, guy that was really showing flashes in preseason, and then he goes down in the second preseason game. So I think from a talent standpoint, no question, they've got a ton of talent. When 9 guys get voted to the All-Pro team, you've got a buttload of talent. But they're still deficient where they need to be, where it's a very critical area in the linebacking core. So that has to be addressed. To your question, man, so I thought about this. I'm really glad you asked that question directly, because I was talking to my brother just about this a couple days ago. The more I think about it, and in dealing with the reality of what is at the Star, you mentioned McCarthy's not going anywhere. Well, guess who else is not going anywhere? And that's Gerald Wayne, right? So to your question, the reason I'm liking the possibility of either Joe Witt or Zimmer coming back to the fold is this. The more I think about it, I don't like Rivera, because there's going to be a comfort level thing that you're going to have to get through with Rivera. Joe Witt was here. Now, he's an attachment to the guy that left. He's a guy that, if you read some of the feedback from the players on the defensive side of the ball, Joe Witt is a pretty likable guy, not only amongst the guys on the sideline, but guys in the front office, which merits him getting a chance to interview for the job. The reason I like Zimmer, man, is Zimmer is a guy, and again, this is for what Dallas is looking for. We talked about the culture piece. We talked about, JC, you brought up a terrific point. Like during that Green Bay game, you didn't have an ass kicker one on the sideline. Flip a Gatorade bottle. This bottom line, cut somebody's ass out that needed it. Like grab somebody by the collar, literally look them right in the eye and tell them that you're fucking up. Guess who that guy is? Mike Zimmer. Mike Zimmer is 100% that. He's been out of the game for a bit, probably got his hunger back. And here's the piece where it ties into what I think would fit here. Mike Zimmer is a guy who was in the organization. He's a Jerry guy. He's a Jones guy, right? For my money, I thought he should have been the coach instead of Jason Garrett. I was really disappointed that he didn't get more of a shot even back then. So I've always been a Mike Zimmer guy. I think he's a lot of what could be good with this thing. I think he's a guy that can look Micah Parsons right in his eyes and tell him, hey, man, shut the fuck up with this podcast shit, and I want to hear about your feels. You're not getting it done on Sunday. That's why I sent y'all that clip and I thread. The more I look at that, that's the guy. I said, when's the last time we had that guy anywhere on the sideline with this organization?
Dez Bryant?
Yeah,
Des Bryant. I mean, from a coaching standpoint, but that's a great point.
Oh, I'm just okay.
Yeah. But that's a great point. You need a guy that'll snatch a dude by the face mask. You need a guy that will call somebody out and tell him you're not getting it done. Like that clip I sent you guys when Zimmer was looking at those people. I think it was on the Bengals sideline. He's like, "Get your minds right, or I'll get it right for you." I love shit like that. But that's what this thing needs. Cliff, to your point, they need somebody to take them from, and particularly on the defensive side of the ball, but take them from front runner, right, to something with some substance, something with some moxie. Somebody's gonna hold their ass accountable, like for real, and make them better. If you look at Zimmer defenses, a lot of where he's been successful and made his name as a big time DC is exactly what Dallas needs. They're gonna be good in the linebacking core, and they're gonna get after the passing. Probably gonna be some fortifications up front, and I think so for my money, for the guys that are out there, was it Witt, Rivera, Zimmer, and I forget who the fourth guy is. It Al Harris? Who's the fourth guy?
Al Harris.
There's four guys that are being mentioned. The more I think about it, man, the fact that he's a guy that the Joneses are comfortable with. He's a guy that has like McCarthy, has coached teams and coached units to the Super Bowl level. Had a lot of success, and much like a lot of guys that we've seen that had moderate success as head coaches, but the thing that made them who they are, they just get back to that. The Marvin Lewises, the Norv Turners, the Mike Zimmers. I would love to see him back in that to get one more crack at it. Take that unit, especially to where it can go, because I think an improved defensive unit with the attitude that he'll give them is probably what helps get this thing over the hump. That, of course, in the run game.
Real quick, man. Obviously, we lost an icon, Carl Weathers, recently. We need somebody on that team to go Carl Weathers like he did in Rocky when he said, "This is it, man. This is it, man."
R.I.P. Great Carl Weathers, man. That's a terrific reference. I love it. I love it.
Feel me?
I love it.
Shake yourself. Let's play ball. Anyway, back to y'all.
Man, we itching for urgency, man. Not talk, because we're really good at talking. We're really good at that. Like again, Michael Parsons, I'm talking to you. You can get, and I saw him get mad at Skip Bayless the other week. I mean, listen, Skip Bayless will give you 1,000 reasons to be mad at him. It is what it is. But some of what he's saying wasn't incorrect.
No.
Like again, like I let in with you got a lot to say about everything when shit going good.
But shit goes bad in the headless horseman or some shit out there. It feels like a headless horseman when it goes bad. No one's around.
Well, not only no one around, but Cliff, I'm glad you brought up him in particular, because he's a focal point. So when we saw that potential, that flash potential, and you heard what I thought was ludicrous and unfair, the references to like an Lawrence Taylor, right? In year 1 and 2. You could see the talent. Like, man, this guy is doing something as a 250, 255 pound backer, rushing the pass and whatnot. But our guy Richard Walker made a terrific point in a thread, and when he commented this, it stuck with me. Over the year, and we've seen this like subjectively on the field, during his time here, which to me separates him from the guys of his ilk, the Myles Garretts of the world, the TJ Watts of the world, the Nick Bosa's of the world. Max Crosby. What we've seen from Micah is we see flashes of brilliance to start the season. But when you're going up against consistently these 310, 15, 20 pound athletic tackles, when you get from game 11 to 17, Micah fades. He's disappeared at the end of the year. Every year. So guess what? When the Skip Baylesses and any other talking head references that, that's fair. That's accurate. The reason you're not getting the DPOY consideration and winning that thing that you've openly lusted for is because TJ Watt and Max Crosby and Myles Garrett and Nick Bosa are there making plays for their teams at the end of the year that you're not.
That's an excellent point.
You're not. So guess what? If you're going to be that guy, if you're going to be let me get my lion crawl on. That's all cute and all, but man, go get that guy on 3rd and 8 when they need it in the playoff game, like the Bosas and Crosbys and Garrett's and whom of that ilk are doing in this world. That's your development piece. As good as you've been, as great as you've been at times, it's not sustained. You've got to get better, and you're about to be the money guy on this thing. You're the face of this defense, and what you've done to this point, this is straight no chaser shit, ain't good enough, bruh.
Yep.
As good as you've been, it ain't good enough. The getting better starts with you. We've gotten bonus money out of Deron Bland, 5th round pick, and he's led the Cowboys in picks the last 2 seasons. You're in bonus territory with him. But guess what? I'm about to pay you an APY of $30 million a year. So I need you to be TJ Watt, and you're not. I need you to be Myles Garrett, and you're not. I need you to be Nick Bosa, and you're not. So get out the podcast, get your ass ready to probably get a little bit of a role and adjustment. You've got God bless physical skills to dominate a football game. Is he a little misplaced? Take his ass off the edge a little bit more and have him in that backer role so he can be more impactful in that deal. Because guess what? He runs himself out of a lot of plays. He looks real lazy in that run game. Let's keep it a buck. Let's get better there. Because you're about to be that guy. The improvement starts with you.
Put him at the mic on 1st and 2nd. Put him at Mike on 1st and 2nd. Off the ball.
I need you to be Junior Seau. That's what I need him to be. Sideline to sideline, monster.
Yes.
He's got that ability. About the same size. 4'3" guy. Make that happen.
Absolutely.
Seau was a beast. 6'3", 255, a monster. Mike is probably is faster than Seau.
Seau on the sideline.
He got the instinct. That dude off the ball.
Yep.
And you spot him coming off the corner. Blitz him from the mic. They tried it. It was really strange because you guys remember this. They tried it against Miami. You saw him playing some Mike. And then, oddly enough, and it just baffles me, the play that Miami ran for the first down to win the game, Micah wasn't playing Mike.
Yeah.
I don't understand it. And it was somewhat effective because the previous week they got gashed in Buffalo. And Miami had success, and they did run the football to win the game on that critical play. But Dallas, he slowed them down. And you saw Micah at the mic, which what I was thinking was, no one knew he was the fucking pass rusher that he was when he came out, or his ass wouldn't have fell to 13.
Yeah, that's fair.
No way on God's green earth. I said, okay, well, best case scenario with this guy, he's going to be like a Leonard type, right? Like the kid in Indianapolis. Gets a few sacks, gets a fumble, and play off the ball and make a ton of tackles. No one knew he was going to be this good of a pass rusher. But I said at 13, if he can be your Mike and, playing a dime and rush the passer, this could be a great pick. Well, then all of a sudden, we found out what a dynamic, like in game 2 against the Chargers, he just took that thing over. He dominated that game. They needed that win. He dominated it, and they got it. He dominated that game, rushing the passer, we got it. Then all of a sudden, all the metrics came out. Well, he's a win pass rush rate, pro football focus. All this shit came out, and it's all the idiots that we talked about. We said, there's no way, man, that us three and Rich Walker are the only ones that can see this. And you got Skip Bayless, just put his hand on it. Shut up. This ain't Madden. This ain't video football.
He was a big advocate of that.
Spot this dude.
Great call.
Rookie man, and he hogged out against Minnesota, tracking dudes down on screenplays, busting their big ass in the run game. Yeah, man. That's what we need. The linebacking court, look, man, it was bodies, bro. Y'all all know it. It was bodies. They just didn't have the bodies. You had Clark and Parsons. That's pretty much it. Once they lost your boy LVE and Overshown, pardon me?
Yeah.
Huge losses, but you have them. You got to have guys. So back to the question, which was, I would like Al Harris because I think there's some tweaks they need to make in the secondary. But then you could make an argument for getting Rivera, a linebacker. Okay. Witt looks like a big guy. He probably could deal with the front seven. They do need to improve their linebacking core. But I think schematically, who's going to be that dude that looks at this roster? Okay, the defensive coordinator, who's going to be the guy that looks at the defense and says, we're going to make these subtle changes, add this personnel, bring this cat in. And P.S., by the way, all these mock drafts got them taking another defensive tackle. You're not going to take another defensive tackle in the first round. Will McClay's not going to get mad at his money like that. And the new law in the NFL is, and the Cowboys had to learn a hard lesson with this, do not draft a defensive tackle in the first round if the some bitch can't pass rush. I'm sorry, man. That's life. You don't take run stoppers in the first round. Any DT that goes in the first round typically and will be going forward is a guy that can rush the passer. That is
Chris
dynamic.
Jones, Deron Payne,
Simmons,
Jordan Davis,
Simmons, my homeboy son, Simmons out there.
Aaron Donald,
like for real, man. Like even Via Veda could collapse the pocket. You feel me? So I'm not saying don't add defensive linemen because I think, in my estimation, you're going to let a few of those guys go. And we believe we need Sam Williams to step forward. The talent is there, but I think you're going to let Armstrong walk. I just don't know. He's a $6 million year guy that gets you about 6 sacks and disappears for huge stretches of the season. Micah's not getting there. Where's the other guy? And Lawrence is a dynamic badass. I got a lot of respect for Lawrence, but he's winding it down. He's a 6-7 sack a year guy. We need Williams to step it up coming off the corner. And no, they're not taking a D tackle in the first round. I don't see McClay getting mad at his money. I think they still like Mozzie for what he's going to do, right? I would look at, again, so much stuff to look at in terms of who to take. I like Chop Robinson out of Penn State. Defensive end should be a consideration to me because I think you're gonna flush some guys on that defense. Look at all the free agents. Most of those guys ain't coming back. And I honestly, for the money, I'd like upgrades. And all due respect to Curse and all those guys, I said get Bell, make him the new Curse because there will be no Curse. Bell needs to be the Curse.
Get back at safety. Yep, I'm fine with that.
And again, it gets back to we trust McClay on the personnel. Is it going to be Witt? Is it going to be Harris? Who's it going to be that's going to take that not Dan Quinn look? It's the person's going to be named not Dan Quinn. To me, that's the key because there are adjustments that need to be made defensively. That shit worries me. It worries me, man. They get exposed, and they're too good to get exposed.
Well, I think you bring up a great point, JC, and I'm going to pose a question to you guys, anybody in the chat. So, and this is a Dan Quinn question. So, as I look back at it, man, and when you're making the reference about Micah, and really about this schematically, because Dan Quinn really loves going back to his days in Seattle, the hybrid linebacker safety guy.
Yes.
I mean, gimmicky, but worked in stretches. But when you line up, we reference these teams that are in the Final Four, and I'm going to specifically reference San Francisco, whose linebacking core I love. The Baltimore, who's got my favorite linebacker in all of football, and Roquan Smith. I mean, I think, dude, I was the guy who lusted after Roquan Smith. Like, please let him fall to the Cowboys. It didn't happen. But
he's better. He's clean so much better.
But exactly. But I think, man, is it fair to say that Micah Parsons was one of the better things, and it was a good thing for Quinn and also a detriment. I think Dan Quinn, and I'm gonna use a reference of yours, JC. I think Dan Quinn literally fanboyed out with Micah Parsons. I really do. I think he fell in love. I think he fell in love and fanboyed on his pass rushing ability. And I think and because of that, I think it was more of a detriment from what he could be a more traditional playmaker from the Mike spot, because again, he's got that physicality. He damn sure's got that speed. He's got the instincts. But I think in falling in love with his pass rushing capability, that you took him away from that, which means you took away from what this defense could be with him operating from that space. So I think some of the guys that we've named that are DC candidates, that's why I kind of like Zimmer in this deal, the more I think about it, because I think he's likely going to use, and I'm gonna tell you, and you'll appreciate this, JC and Cliff, when you look at what the potential of what Micah could be coached up at that spot at the mic, to me, he reminds me of a Ken Norton that's 20 pounds bigger. You know,
The
Ken
Sam
Norton,
is just dead
yeah,
on.
but he's just there. But I'm talking about in terms of cowboy lore, what a Zimmer attachment to what he had. I mean, you got a guy in Norton who could run. You know, all the Dallas linebackers when Zimmer was here, all of them could run. That was a staple of their deal. And Ken Norton, who was the Mike back then, you know, that was his big deal, the ability to get sideline to sideline. And Micah Parsons is 20 pounds bigger than him.
Yes.
You know, Ken Norton soaking wet was about 235. Yeah,
you're going to pay
240.
$30 million. Why not have him be the Mike and situational pass rusher? If
Absolutely.
Okay, it was games that say I didn't rush the passer. Some bitch get 20 tackles. He would be everywhere all the time. We're going to pay you $30 million. He's going to be the highest paid defensive player in the game, bar none. We know that. He be used like that.
Right. You're fortifying and JC, you know this, you're fortifying, you know, when you're weak in the middle of the field, you know, I don't care how dynamic you are on the outside, you know, those weaknesses always show up. We've seen that we've seen that with weak safety play with the Dallas Cowboy fans, you know, until Donovan Wilson kind of emerged. Between Woodson and Donovan Wilson's emergence, right? That was a glaring weakness, you know, from, you know, the Barry Churches and whoever else we had in this world. And it's the same thing with the middle of the defensive line. It's the same thing with the linebacking court. You know, as dynamic as you are on the edges, you're still weak in the middle of that field. And they've got to when we missed the opportunity when it was there to go get Minka Fitzpatrick. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the middle of the field is where Dallas has been cute with their edge play, but they're not physical and grimy enough where you have to be a championship contender, which is in the middle of the field. Tackle, backer, safety. They gotta fortify that shit right there.
Yes. He needs to get like Ray Lewis and dive into his freaking film study. He needs to go like Ray Lewis, and like Ray Lewis was defensive Peyton Manning. Okay. Mikey needs to become that guy. Screw the podcast, whatever, man. I ain't gonna tell you what to do with your life, young fella. All right, you're your own man. Okay, but on the cool, get in your playbook, get in your film study. Have him be that guy at Mike that everybody looks to at Mike. You know, Bobby Wagner, Ken Norton. You know what I'm saying? Junior Seau. You know, have him be that guy.
Man.
The defensive line, setting it up on first and second down, and then getting after that quarterback on third down and pass rushing situations. And again, I believe my personal opinion is I think Brother Marquise is a safety. I do not think he is a linebacker. Again, the flaws in Pro Football Focus's ratings. Okay. Right. And I think that you got to really make a decision between who's the guy as you're in the box safety. I know you gave Wilson $8 million. I know he's once again like Mike McCarthy, # good dude. I get that. I'm fine with that. But where were the plays that were being made? To me, Bell was out of position. To me, they blitzed too much. Okay, I think Bell and Wilson need to compete for that strong safety spot. And I know it's going to hurt you if Bell wins that spot and you're paying Donovan Wilson $8 million and he's got to really primarily contribute on special teams and in the dime. So be it. We're trying to win. These are adjustments that, in my estimation, need to be made.
And see, you know, again, I see a little bit. I love the point about Bell at safety, and see, I see a little bit of Woody with him. A little bit of Darren Woodson with him, and that big guy that can run. Yeah, big guy that can run is a good tackler when in position. But if you're taking him out of that position, to your point, right? When he's getting eaten up by, you know, when you got him in the, he gets washed in there with the big guys. But if you have him coming down from the safety aspect because of his size, there you go. You see what I'm saying? So, and to me, that's what goes back to a guy with the experience, a guy who can look at eyes and just in his decisions and his resume and his acumen in putting guys in the right position. That was when I talked to Darren Woodson last year. We talked about off camera with Campo and Zim, and I even told Darren Woodson after our interview at Super Bowl last year that how I really was a big fan of Zimmer, and wishing that he was a Cowboy, the Cowboys had pulled the trigger on him versus Garrett, and Darren Woodson being the great guy that is, just gave me one of those looks, and gave me a big old smile, and like he didn't say like yeah, but just gave me one of those look like yeah, bro, and gave me a pound. It's like, hey man, I mean this is a guy who knew how to put guys in the position to win positionally, and he is a no nonsense jump down your throat guy, and I think they need that edge. I think they need that guy to come there and tell them, look man, I don't give a damn how cute you are, it ain't getting it done. This is how we're going to do it. And I'm going to pose a question for you on this Micah thing, because I think it's fascinating. I think I've not heard anybody bring it up yet, so this might be a straight no chase exclusive. But Micah's due to get paid, right? Is Micah due to get paid as a big time pass rusher? Or is Micah getting paid, or will the Cowboys try to hold the hard line and take some of that edge off and pay him linebacker money? Because, that linebacker money and premier pass rushing money.
It's a $10 million.
Yes, sir.
That's a $10 million difference, and Michael will view himself as top of the food chain. So will his agent, and you already know that. Okay, that's fine. All right, and I'll tell you what, DB, I am now firmly, after listening to you and thinking about it and thinking about Mike Zimmer, I'm in the Zimmer camp now. That's where I'm at with it, and I'm going to tell you why for a lot of reasons, okay? This guy, okay, first of all, Deion Sanders loves him. Okay, Woodson
wanted to hire him in Colorado.
He's a 4-3 guy. Parcells gets the job. Parcells is like, he's going to get his own guys. He's going to get Parcells guys and go to a 3-4. He kept Zimmer. He likes Zimmer. Zimmer can help us with the secondary. Zimmer can help us up front. Zimmer is that my name is not Dan Quinn guy, and I wasn't even in the organization. Now I'm giving you a different set of eyes. I'm telling you it's what they need. I trust Zimmer. I think,
and there's an account of bro, you're right there with you. And the other thing, everything you just said, and add one more ingredient to the stew, JC, and that's accountability. There's an accountability that comes with Mike Zimmer. And again, this is a been there, done that guy. So he's not walking in as some guy who hadn't seen it from the mountaintop. He was on those teams. He's seen what it takes to build championship level defenses. This is a guy that's done it. This is a guy that's coached Hall of Famers. This is a guy that Hall of Famers right now rave about. This is a guy with acumen, but he brings an edge, he brings an acumen, and he brings an accountability that this thing sorely needs. And you got to factor this in, which is why I like him for this job, for this group before that window closes shut, is that he's a guy that the Jones guy trusts. He's comfortable with. That has to be a deal.
Handle a circus. Yeah. He can handle a circus. And hey, not to mention, in addition to being originally a defensive back, that's what he played when he played.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
You got to remember, he had one Anthony Barr, 6'5", 255, in his prime when Barr was a weapon. When Barr was not the Barr that came here and chipped in and made a few plays here and there. I'm talking about when Barr was highly rated at the top
of the dog.
That defense.
Dog.
Right? 6'5", 255, playing like linebacker, playing outside with that kind of size, being able to rush. Anthony Barr was a very productive plus Pro Bowl type player. So now with that, I'm sold on Zimmer. Get Zimmer in here because we gotta get somebody named not Dan Quinn in here just to look at this thing. And I'm telling you, it's always you've seen it. Like, okay,
the chess pieces.
What about when Phil took over that insanely talented Laker team that got swept by Utah? Right, Del Harris was there. Phil came in, right, and you look at that roster. God, that roster was so deep. They had so many guys. They made a few little twerks and changes. Phil changed everybody's attitude. He got with Shaq and said, listen, big fella, there's no reason a man your size should ever be soft on defense, ever. And left it at that and made some changes. And then what happened forward?
They got bigger, they got tougher. You move Nick Van Exel, you get Ron Harper, right? And you And now Rick Fox is that guy. He's basically the defensive stopper, right? I mean, and you got Ron Harper, who's longer, and could defend more, had more versatility defensively than a Nick Van Exel, who's a multi-talented guy. Loved him to death, loved him as a player. But like to your point, he made the subtle tweaks. Not a big overhaul. And Dallas is still in the subtle tweak mode. Fortunately, they've not gotten to the whole tear down thing out of necessity. This is still a subtle tweak. Take advantage of this window before it slams shut roster. And when you've got a guy like in his prime, like a Parsons, when you've drafted a Bell, when you've drafted a DeRon Bland, when you've got a Trayvon Diggs, that's not a thing you blow up. But you need a set of eyes in here that puts these guys. You add a few, you make, you do some addition by subtraction. You plug a few quality pieces in because you trust Will McClay to get to the personnel to do that with in the draft and in the offseason. And then you get a guy, to me, again, with the resume and with the accountability history of a been there, done that, taking the defense to the mountaintop guy like a Mike Zimmer, who is wildly respected around the league, amongst Hall of Famers. I think this young group of guys who they need a guy that kicks them in the ass when needed and shows them how to find their way in the biggest moments and puts them in the position and gives them success positionally to do that. And to me, those are two biggest things. Do that. Go get your hammer. Not the Sid Parsons. The Pollard experiment was just that. He didn't have a terrible year, but he's not what you needed. You need guys to be able to salt games away when you're up. And if you got to grind it out, like you said earlier, you need that hammer. You need that balance. Go get your about to be 55 APY quarterback. Get that guy that balance so you don't have to lean on him. Just because he can doesn't mean you have to go do that. Give him balance, fortify that thing in the middle defensively, and then let's go legitimately compete for the NFC. That's my takeaway from 2023. You don't win 12 games 3 years in a row by accident, but you've got to make the right subtle adjustments this offseason in personnel and the coach that kicks them in the ass defensively, puts them in the right position, so now you can legitimately compete. And that's my takeaway for this.
You need a hammer, and I love to cross-compare sports, okay?
Yep.
I love to cross-compare sports. Al Davis, back in the day, said, what if you could build a team that had the size of the Yankees, the speed of the Dodgers, and the precision of the Black Knights of the Hudson Army, right? What if you could build a team like that and that actually ran the John Wooden full-court press with its defensive backs? So I love to cross-compare sports. If you look at guys that need something to go with them, I come back to the, Portland was kind of bumping around, and then they brought Buck Williams in to stick next to their center. Yep. All right. Yep. Okay. So, when the Mavericks had Dirk, they brought a center to stick next to him. All right. All right. And then there you go. When Hakeem started out and they got rid of the Sampson thing, they brought in Otis Thorpe, a power forward that's going to get you 10 rebounds a game. Right. So on the Pollard thing, Pollard would be great with Henry. But I think the problem is that somebody's going to throw $5 to $7 million at him. And I think that we agree that Henry's going to cost you 10 to 12. Okay. It's going to be 2 for 24, something like that. Because we got to remember with Henry, this guy over the past 5 years has averaged 1,400 yards and 13 touchdowns a season. Think about that. Yeah. That's pretty salty. If he has a couple left in him, a few left in him, and that Jones fracture is worrisome because it's a foot thing, and they say recurrence is high. The recurrence on it is high. They say it's notorious for not healing properly. But life's a gamble, right? Like your boy said, the blood in out. Life's a risk, Garnell. Life's a risk. Life's a gamble.
Right.
Henry
no doubt.
is a gamble to take. Henry is a very good gamble to take. DB, you've sold me on Henry too. When I did a deep dive, well, I love Henry. I think, man, all of a sudden now you get a better Pollard. It's not going to be that guy. You're going to have to find a guy. Okay. I like the quick aspect of Pollard and the playmaking, but he's ancillary. He's supplementary. You need a hammer.
And he's always been there. He was that out of college, and that was the thing I was telling. We talked about it on the show. You know, I mean, when let's be clear, they missed even what I think this year with what Zeke does, particularly around the red and in short yardage situations, they missed that. They absolutely missed that. But Pollard was given a role and responsibility that, quite honestly, has never been him his entire. He wasn't that at Memphis. I mean, you have the sexy year, but you have the sexy year doing what you do, which was as a complementary piece. And when you become that, that's why these guys are different. That's why Derrick Henry is different. That's why Christian McCaffrey is different. When you're game planning for that guy to get that rock and they still produce like they produce, that's different territory. That you know what I'm saying? You're a different animal. And Pollard, was a I think it was a 4 yards per carry, just right at 1,000 yards, fairly pedestrian, but going inside just the numbers when you needed to sustain drives, when you needed to establish an identity in the game that we're going to pound the rock, that part of it was too inconsistent. Well, a Derrick Henry, in my opinion, that's out there does that for you. You have risks in any free agent acquisition, but I think the risks, when you look at what Dallas needs and what they can provide, and I'm talking specifically about Derrick Henry and a Saquon Barkley, I think that risk is a much more mitigated risk with a Derrick Henry than a Saquon Barkley.
They need to do a rhythm in their run game calling too.
Yeah,
they had no rhythm in the run game at all. Look at what Detroit did against San Francisco. They came out and punched them dead in the mouth and took it down the field on them. I was proud of them for doing that a little bit. I was like, that's how you take on the big gorilla. You don't pitter-pat around with him, you hit him with everything you got. And they came out and punched Frisco in the mouth, right?
Yes.
Somebody's got to have to stand up to Frisco and do that. You do that with a hammer. And they had no freaking rhythm. I don't care. The offense was great, blah, 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 blah. But they had no rhythm in the run game. None. To me, you start with the hammer the way they did at USC. You start with Lindell, pound them, then you push around.
Yeah, but that push. Yes, sir.
You start with Henry, and you pound him. And then if you don't have Pollard, you get a Pollard-like guy with speed. They should have flipped it. They didn't have any faith in Dowdell. Dowdell should have been the starter. Forget who starts or who finishes it, and forget number of plays. Make Dowdell the starter, and then supplement him and keeping Pollard in his role. Yeah, man, Dowdell's not going to be Zeke. Okay, he's not that guy. But it's the philosophy and getting a rhythm and saying, all right, we're going down a distance, and now, after we hit you with the thunder, we bring in the lightning, right? We have said it time and time again that it is easier to call offense when you are getting 5 and 6 a clip on first down.
Can I introduce this though? Can I inject this? That's gonna be a tough sell.
By me.
Well, you know what I'm saying? Because it's a guy you franchised already, right? Who's supposed to get big money, and then now you want to make him a feature. It's almost like now schematically. What you said is fundamentally sound all the way. Hook, line, and sinker, chapter and verse. But how does that look to other players when they come in where like it's a guy who already kind of got messed over, quote unquote, in player mentality mode, and you put him as a second back to be a feature back to his backup? That's a tough sell when you really think that out.
Yeah, and that's
there's something to that clip.
You get to the emotions and the egos of things, and Pollard feels like he should be the starter. But look, okay, fine. You did not have that guy. Pollard was your starter. That's in the past. Fine, we'll move on. We need a down in, down out guy. Now, whether it's they re-sign Pollard and then sign somebody like Foreman, the big back from Chicago, played at UT. Foreman, if they somebody if they go on the cheap and sign like that, whatever the case may be, I need my starter to handle business on first and second down and then run plays, just like I need Micah to handle business defensively on first and second down and the run plays. We got to get an identity for this team. The identity for this team should be down in, down out, play action, which is what Dak is made for. You've got the skill guys to do it. I also want to see Ferguson get a little bit more involved. I want more touches for Ferguson. Okay, I think that's going to be possible. I want to see Tolbert step up. All right, and then we establish a true identity, which is Micah at the mic, a run, slightly run heavy okay? Because in this day and age, you're going to be slightly pass heavy just by the numbers, okay? That's just kind of the way it is, you know. But having that identity and being able to say, okay, well, wow, you know, CeeDee Lamb's not getting wide ass open on the, you know, in the seams or deep or whatever. Oh shit, what do we do now? No, man, we slow it down. We could throw short passes to Ferguson. We can run it, ugly it up, and say, hang on a second, man, this thing's about to get out of hand. Like, again, cross-sport comparison. When shit starts going bad for you as a basketball coach and you're getting rolled, call timeout. Reset, man. Let's get a bucket here. Let's stop the bleeding. Same thing. Hey, it's 14-0. We're down to Green Bay. These little bastards, let's come out and let's slow this thing down with some gut punches. And yeah, if you got to go for fourth down, go for it on fourth down for that on that gut punch drive, you do it, but you slow everything down and you get us back to face. You get a stalemate while you regroup and you win the game that way. Instead, it just completely got away from them. And that final score is so not indicative of what happened in that football game. And I see these teams.
Oh, no, absolutely not.
Part of a champion, winning different ways. Kansas City is winning this way because they have the best defense in the NFL this year. To me, they have proven in the playoffs that they have the best defense going right now. They out Baltimore at their crib. If you tell Baltimore going in, hey, man, y'all going to hold KC to 17, Baltimore's like, hell yeah, we're going to the bowl. And Baltimore did that. But what did KC do? KC said, all right, you know what? We'll hold your bitch ass to 10. Take that with you. And they made plays. They made plays, man.
Play after play.
Made plays, man. That's why Kansas City's a champion.
I'm going to go back.
That's why they were champions.
Real quick, guys.
We just need to get there,
real
man.
Quick, because I'm about to jump.
Right. Take a step. Progress. Get there, baby. Take a step, man. Have some. Don't. It should never be. You look at Baltimore. They might not go to the Super Bowl, but they ain't gonna never get straight clowned, straight gangster slapped at their house. It's gonna be a competitive game. They might not win, but it's gonna be competitive. You can count on that. Like they're pros. I feel like, and I want to get you guys thoughts on this.
Hold on, JC, before you go. Hold on, JC, before you go. D Brown's about to go because he's about to hop off because he's about to go coach. So I want him to get his thoughts in, and then you can keep riffing.
It's no, when, you know, at what point?
You hear me?
Like, whether it's Green Bay or Buffalo or whoever it is, I get the feeling sometimes that the coaches on the other sideline are like, it's Dallas. We know what we got to do here. And like 4 or 5 of them know the ingredients of the secret sauce, right? Like, and you know, Buffalo, whomever, and they just wax Dallas. Then the rest of the league gets overwhelmed by Dallas's talent, 12-5. All right, get in the playoffs. Oh, P.S., 4 or 5 of those guys that know your little kryptonite are in the playoffs, and they take advantage of it. Okay, because you don't have a fallback. You don't have an identity really to begin with, you know, because there are teams that are going to lock you down offensively. What do you do then? Can you win a 13-10 game? You know, can you gut it out? You know, the inconsistencies are so wild, man. You know, like I remember when Garrett was here, them some bitches was road warriors. They were great on the road, second only to the Patriots, even though they were going 8-8. They were road warriors, man. And this team cannot play on the road. Okay. It's just the wild inconsistencies, man. And it does start, as I said, with let's get a different set of eyes in there, man. Let's make some subtle changes, as DB alluded to. Let's tackle the Cliff problem from what Cliff was talking about, you know, with Micah fading. That's something you got to address. All right. You got to address that. I think we've come up with a solution for that to get more out of him. And we do need something from the player. He needs to become Ray Lewis without all the double murders. He needs to become Ray Lewis and dive into, I'm sorry, I took a shot at Ray Lewis. That's a goof. It's a goof. He needs to be like Ray Lewis. Dig into your playbook, man. Like, just start knowing offenses. That's what made Baltimore so great. What about Ed Reed, right? Ed Reed, I saw Ed Reed bait Peyton Manning as a safety. You can't misstep if you're a safety. He fooled Peyton Manning with a step inside, saw the play fake and bailed and picked off the pass. Why? Them some bitches live and breathe football. Ray Lewis is in his fucking playbook. He is in the film room. That's what Mike needs to do. Become a nerd. You're going to play Mike and you're going to rush the passer. Here are your duties. Get into the film room and find out what the teams you're playing against are doing. Just immerse yourself in it, man, and be that guy. Be the guy, not only on defense, but hell, man, make this a defense-first team and be the man on the whole team. Who are the Cowboys? With Mike Parsons in their defense. They will get in your mix. You can't run against them, and when you got to throw against them, you're in trouble. That's what it needs to be. Okay, we can forget about making Dak Prescott Mahomes. It's never going to happen. But we need to take that Steeler approach, take that Ravens approach, build a powerhouse around him. Run game, special teams, nasty, filthy defense, right? And call me stupid, but I still think if you make the team around him so good, he can get you to a Super Bowl. The thing is, when we get to quarterbacks often tell the tale, but just get us there, baby. Just can we progress as a franchise? We're home after the first week of the playoffs every year. And for the past 20 years, a lot of times we haven't even been to the playoffs. It's like they say in the College World Series, 2 and barbecue. You come in, lose twice, head to the house. We come in, lose once, head to the house. Like your boy Nick Van Exel said when the Lake Show was out of it. 1, 2, 3, Cancun. You know what I'm saying? Cancun on 3. Tea time on 3. And that's got to stop, man. We've been patient enough as Cowboy fans, okay? The talent is there. It's time to progress. Seriously, it's so frustrating, man. It really is. The talent is there. You know they do it. No, they got the roster.
I'm about to jump real quick. I wanted to, man, but first of all, I'm saying, go ahead. I've enjoyed the hell out of this year. Doing what we do, man, because we seemingly like much more so than not just on point week in and week out. So that's the one thing I want to jump out by saying this. I think the whole thing with Parsons, okay, man, you shake his hand, thank him for his service, and you look to improve. You look the thing. You go all in at improving the run game. You go all in and getting some accountability here on the defensive side of the ball with the coordinator hire, and then you make some things happen. I think they should let Parsons take the tour. I think they should shake his hand. I agree with you, Cliff. That's not a good look when you were the franchise guy making $10 million a year and you're asking him to be the backup. Nah, I think you go get a guy like Henry. I think that's an all-in move, and you bring Rico Dowdle.
Henry alone ain't gonna wreck your cap either. I don't want to hear shit. Henry by himself won't wreck your cap. You can make that work. And I would take that as all in because it's a risk and it's what you need. You can make the Henry shit work. He's just one guy. All right. Even if it's $10 or $11 million, you can make it work. And you gotta make it work. That window's gonna close, and you're gonna have a bunch of ill-fitting parts trying to rebuild. And you'll be stuck in the middle again. You got to get an uptick going, man. I guess we felt like last year was an uptick. They won a first-round playoff game. Cool. All right, that's fine. I can accept that. But there should have been more of an uptick this year, man. I don't give a shit about the matchup. Oh, Green Bay was hot. So I don't care about that. Everybody in the playoffs is good. You gut one out and you find a way to win. Baltimore played their ass off in the championship game and did not deserve to lose. They didn't lose. KC beat their ass. KC made those plays. That fumble, that 36 calls, massive. And he did that. He was attempting to make the guy fumble before he scored, making plays. Those cats made plays. All right? Screw the excuses. You beat a good team, you're going to beat good teams in the playoffs. All right? Or, as Dallas found out, your ass will be sitting at the crib. Gone fishing,
Amen.
I just hope and pray that the right changes are needed, are made, because I hate to keep saying it. The on-field talent is there. It needs leadership. They need discipline. They need an ass kicker. All right, you're not going to have that at head coach, but Zimmer I think certainly qualifies as a red ass, a quality found in a lot of great coaches. Okay. I think you could trust his red assery. All right. That somebody's going to be held accountable for this, that changes are going to be made. And there's going to be an emphasis on focus. That's the thing too, man. Like, where's the focus? How do you phone in a playoff game? You lose those games. You can't skate by. They're not good enough. There was just no hunger there, man. And it's distressing as hell to see it happen. And yeah, all the social media stuff threw gas on the fire. All right. But look, the more and more you hear that, right? And social media and these wild ass quotes, don't they kind of lose their significance a little bit? And isn't it like that's just more white noise? That's a product of social media and how we are. Oh, so-and-so secretly said this, or so-and-so's homegirl said this, or mama said this. Look, like Bill Parcells said, hey guys, your mom, your friends, your wife, just go ahead and accept the fact that they're there. They can support you. They don't know a fucking thing about what we do here. Not a damn thing. The only people that know about what we do here are in this building and play for and coach this football team. All right. You think you know, but you don't know. All right. It's about the team. All the extra shit, man, all that shit flies over my head. CD's mom saying, get Dak out of here. All that stuff flies over my head now. Back in the day, that would have been extreme, but social media, everybody pops off. Right? Fine. That's white noise. It's still all about leadership, bro.
Well, I would say this, though. My only thing is, my only thing is this. These dudes now are different. We come up in that, pull your bootstraps up, knock a motherfucker in the mouth, let's take care of business era. These dudes ain't like that. These dudes are big on pillow talking. These dudes, just look how they dress coming to the games, man. Like, that shit wouldn't fly back then. I don't care what sport we talking about. So these dudes be pillow talking. I don't disagree with that one bit. And now, to people like you and myself, it's like, yeah, nah, whatever. The locker room's sacred. The locker room is what it is. But these dudes be going like, okay, I'll give you a perfect example. Here's the bridge between your era and my era and the current one. Your boy AB. When AB was recording stuff with Mike Tomlin sacred in the locker room, that's like unheard of. This is like about 7-8 years ago.
Yes. I remember that. Facebook in the locker room. Facebook Live in the locker room.
That is a no-go on all metrics. But AB is the bridge of that new era. And we talking about a guy in his early 30s.
If you think about Jerry letting Prince Bandor in the locker room was bad, how about going Facebook Live?
Come on, man. Like you don't do shit like that. You don't do shit like that. So my point is these dudes are different. So again, this is a guy in his mid-30s. Think about CD in his early 20s. Micah's early 20s. Dak is early 30s. Like, this is the normal for them now. Like, just exposing too much information and people taking it in and running with it. And I understand that at the end of the day, you control what goes on in your locker room to the best you can. You can shield out the outside world. A good coach does a really good job of that. What's happening now is that player empowerment shit where it's like it does kind of spill over, though. So now you start to be a little salty towards your teammates because instead of the old school way, we can come and box it out. We can come talk it out. It's like, I'm going to unfollow you on social media and shit like that, man. So, yeah, that's a little bit.
It's all extra. It's all extra, man. And so you say, well, that's extra. That's part of the world. Of course, you got to deal with it. Baltimore deals with it. San Francisco deals with it. Baltimore deals with it by just not allowing the shit. It's like, oh, wait, extra alert.
Agreed.
Oh, cut that cancer right out. But it's a $20 million cap hit. So gotta go. So, and I love it, man. They will not allow it to be a circus. I think D'Amico Ryans is like that too down in Houston. They will not allow a circus to take place. It's just they're not affected by it. They completely rise above it. Why? Because with all the you have enough to focus on with your opponents and this league, this meat grinder of a league with these great athletes that will bust your ass. All right? Why add anything to it? But that's what the Cowboys are. I swear, when you look at Baltimore's philosophy and Pittsburgh's philosophy and so forth, and they say you can just hear it. You can just hear them saying, "Yeah, like extra, like stuff like that." That's for teams like Dallas. Dallas is an extra team. We don't deal with the extra. We just eliminate it. You walk in and you know who's in charge, and you know how we do shit. You fuck around, you ain't part of the crew. You got to go, man. We have a way that we do things. And for the individual players, and I think you're right, a lot of this, you talk about Micah a lot, you're right about this. In the individual players, Micah's got to make some adjustments in the way he works and prepares, all right? There are no excuses. He talked about wanting to be like Kobe. Well, damn, man, I can't think of too many guys that work harder than Kobe. Larry Bird might have worked as hard. Nobody outworked Kobe, all right? Whether it's, showing up at 4 a.m. and working out before the team worked out, whatever, okay? For Micah, I think it's like, dude, get in your playbook, Stay the mental aspect of the game. He's more physically gifted than Ray Lewis, and Ray Lewis is a badass. But what separated Ray Lewis?
Mentality.
Offense. You know what I'm saying? So it's gonna be a long off season. I feel like every year we say this, in the few years we've been doing this, here we are at the same spot. We are at the same spot, man. And so it's gonna be an interesting off season, and wholesale sweeping changes won't do it, but subtle changes are needed. And I'm with y'all, man. Get Zim in here. Man. With y'all on that.
I'm with it too, man. I think Zim has been spending some time with Prime the last 2 years at Jackson State and at Colorado, so he's getting that hunger back, like Darren was alluding to, and I end up playing here, man. I'm cool with Al Harris as well, man. We've seen guys like Aaron Glenn, former cornerback, is a phenomenal, D coordinator now, and shout out to Aaron Glenn, Houston product, Nimitz High School. Doing a phenomenal job right now. He'll be a head coach in a few years. So Al Harris,
all they need is DBs, and he's a DB. That's really all they need to fill their team out about. Think about it, Cliff. All they need is DBs. Detroit really just needs help in that back seven, right? That's going to be the focus for them, is to get their pass coverage better and not, give up, 30 a game or whatever, right? It's a process. And I think Aaron Glenn can be trusted to draft the right DBs.
Absolutely.
Okay? They're in a great spot. Right? They have one area to focus on. The Cowboys have got a few areas to focus on. And that from the naked eye, they might not look like they got to be focused on, but they do. Your middle of the pack run defense, we all know it's worse than that. We clutch time, we all know it's worse than 16th. Okay? You got to look at that. All right? Your run game has no consistency offensively. So now you're back to, Dak's got to throw for 300. That can't be your identity. It's got to be a team. Subtle changes, all right, in terms of personnel, okay, they're not going to be sweeping, but guys like Sam Williams need to step up and step forward. Okay, he needs to be your starting defensive end next year. All right, that's period. All right, the Armstrong stuff, and if you want to bring Fowler back on a make good, $2 million deal, I'm fine with that, because Fowler is incredibly productive in limited time. Him and Armstrong, 6 sacks. Fowler does it in half the time. Okay, so I'm with him as a spot guy. But Armstrong and you got to look at how you use Lawrence. There's some decisions to be made there, man, in areas that people think that they're safe in, and they're not. And that's another thing. That's what new eyes do, right? DB said it best. And you talked about Micah. Again, Micah being the focus. Okay, you talked about Micah fading. He talked about DBs, like the way I love, Tyron Smith. Dan loves Micah Parsons like that. He's kind of blind a little bit. A new guy won't be. A new guy will come in and will look for results, what has happened, what should happen, and what will happen going forward. That's what you need. Changes, man. I mean, it's just, Sam Cooke said it, man. Change is going to come, and it has to. It better, And just as a personal note, this whole thing is making me despise Jerry Jones more and more by the day, because it's what he's done to my football team. What he has done to my football team. Fine. Here's the ratio, bro. When you win a championship, your regime is good in that area for about 10 years before they start to you still got the championship to fall back on. Yeah. We're 30 into this, and the Cowboys have 3. Do the math. All right, man. We're about past time of being tired of being sick and tired.
This is true.
What he's done to my football team, he gets an F- in my book. All right. It's just, you pull back after 30 years, man, you get what we call empirical data, and you see it. And that's where you get the real answers. Okay. So we know what the real answer is. All right. Somebody, be it the coordinator Zimmer, has got to coach around that freaking circus that is Jerry and get it right. You almost have to be a better coach and a perfect coach coaching with Jerry. All right. Because the hierarchy and people being able to reach around the coach and go to Jerry, all right, we know that's going to exist because Jerry is still here, man, and he ain't going nowhere. Yep. So what do? It's our on-field shit's got to be on point, because talk about Jerry meddling and all that. That some bitch don't play a single snap. He don't make noun plays, okay? So that aspect of our game, it's got to be damn near perfect, man, because we have a handicap at the owner position. Period.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, and I also give Jerry credit, man. He's put a good roster together. Again, there's some holes in it. It's just, he just don't
top five roster.
Yeah, for sure. For sure, from top to bottom, yeah, absolutely. 9 Pro Bowlers, that tells you.
Top 3. I think it's a top 3 roster.
Yeah, so I got to give him credit.
He's is better.
Yeah, I got to give him credit too with the whole thing. But yeah, so it's almost like, yeah, he as a GM, phenomenal job with this team. But then again, injecting himself too much into it, whereas you're not letting the players, the guys you hire, do what they're slated to do, as far as motivation, as far as infrastructure, as far as everyday, day-to-day operations. It's almost like you're taking away from this phenomenal job he does as GM. So it's like what everybody says about him, and some people say it disingenuously, but you get in your own way. Dude, go out there and focus on one thing really good. And I don't care what nobody says. Jerry does a good job of putting teams together. But then bring in guys who are going to do what you pay them to do. Get out the way. I understand you play college football. I understand you understand football more than the average bear. That's a big misconception a lot of people have about Jerry Jones, too, that he don't know football. Because I listen to, the stupidest.
But now nobody's this level, like grinders that grind 16 hours a day on it.
Well, I'm gonna give you.
They are.
No, I got you. I got you. But I'm saying in comparison into the average Cowboy fan who watches them, Jerry Jones know what he's doing. Jerry Jones know what he's talking about. He played college at University of Arkansas. He knows goddamn football.
Agreed.
So 100%. Yeah, I'm kind of just sifting through the comments, from an expert level to a novice level. So going forward, he got to understand that, bro, you don't have an expert level of football knowledge. You don't have that level, that's championship level anymore. How do we know? Like you said, empirical evidence. We have 29 years of evidence. You don't know it. So damn, what's the fucking definition of insanity? I rest my case.
Expecting a different result,
I rest my case.
It's guys doing their job, right? It's like, you look at it this way, like take an owner like Shad Khan, who 5, 6, 7 years ago, he doesn't really know much about football, but his football people tell him this is when they had Bortles and they got to the AFC Championship game and was in New England's mix in 2017 and should have won that game. A big part of that was that Shad Khan said, man, I just want to win. What do we need to do? So they go out, they get Malik Jackson. They spend big money on free agents. They get Bowie, the corner from Houston.
AJ Bowie.
Khan spends $50, $60, $70 million. He's saying, shit, I don't know what to do. I want to win. You guys tell me I need to spend $70 million. I'll spend it. Let's go. Let's get it. Versus Jerry, who's like, I got this. I'm in control. I got this.
That's true.
I got this. And what has him being the I got this guy gotten us? Okay. It's gotten the producer all up in the videos, all up in the studio, dancing around, talking scheme and personnel moves. And it's like, what direction is this thing going? He literally has that, smarmy, oh, I've got this. I'm guiding the team. Just know that when you talk to the Cowboys, I'm guiding the team. I'm guiding this thing. I'm at the helm. Whereas a guy like Shad Khan and other owners say, look, you tell me this is what I need. I'm going to go get it. I want to win, man. Y'all figure this shit out. I own the team. Y'all the football guys. You say I need that? Let's go get it, right? You're Jerry talking about all in and all this stuff, and that's fine. Okay, that's all fine and good, but when? And this is a rhetorical question because the answer is never. When will Mr. Jones subrogate his own ego? Never. He'll never subrogate his own ego, ever. He always comes first. He's the bell cow. He's the face of the franchise. Okay. He's the one steering the ship. Just relax. Jerry's at the helm. No need to panic. And look what it's gotten us. Look what it's gotten us. And again, here's the thing. We used to always be able to say during our drought, well, thank God for the Washington Redskins or Commandos, whatever. Thank God for the Detroit Lions. Oh, snap. Detroit just got to a conference title game. Detroit just got to a conference title game. Take them off the list. You ain't got them to kick around anymore. Man, the futility now. It's just amazing what they've done as a franchise. They have, second most playoff wins, most playoff appearances, 8 bowls, 5 rings, 16 conference title games. And add 27 years of nothing to that. And those records are still phenomenal. They're still amongst the best franchises. You know what franchise has the best winning percentage in history of all 32 teams? Of all 32? It's the Dallas Cowboys. Even after these 27 years of up and down, ass into the playoffs, or 8-8, or the occasional 4-12 or whatever, right? And the history is still so strong that as a whole, winning percentage, championship game appearances, Super Bowl appearances, you still look like America's team. Okay, you still look like, wow, who wins the most? Cowboys. Wow, what a franchise, But we haven't seen anything to add to it in these past 27 years. I've said it before. You should have backed into something by now. You should have backed into something. Look at the Lake Show. The Lake Show ain't going too long without winning championships. Look at Boston. They haven't gone too long without winning championships. All right. And their franchises had down periods, right? But what happened? They came up. They came back up. Look at the Yankees always in the mix. Look at the Astros they're in the mix. Always in the mix. Right? We're not in the mix. We're not in the mix. And, in the late 60s, they were called next year's champions for a long time. And you know how you fix that. You win a championship. That's how the Mavericks fix their shit. Everybody remember Mavericks. What did Van X say? What did the Gangster Hooper say? We just a bunch of soft white boys. That's what they think. They think we're a bunch of soft white boys. We saw it. We've seen it. We've seen them cough up 30-point leads. We've seen them lose to Golden State as the 1 seed